Welcome to the Long Term. I'm Ty King. This is the podcast where we talk about all types of recovery from, substance abuse issues or addiction of any types of sort. But I think everyone has something that they need to heal from at some point in their life. You know what I mean? And so we're opening up those conversations. We're talking to interesting people. This is along the series of the Pathways to Innovation conference that we've been at here in Oklahoma City. Been able to pull some of the best guests I've ever met in my life, just out of the hallway. Just bring them in, sit them down in the chair, and obviously that's where I met you. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Kristy Boone, and I actually am at the conference, and I was supporting in a capacity where I was interviewing people as well, presenters and attendees, and was very excited when I saw your setup. And so I'm glad we started talking because it turned out to be an incredible conversation.
Yeah, for sure. You're definitely a conversationist.
Well, it's easy when there are other people who are engaging in conversation.
That's true, yeah.
Right, because I love listening.
So you don't ever talk to yourself?
Oh, I talk to myself all the time.
Okay.
And my pets. I pretend my pets probably are people.
Okay.
And I don't mean to. It's just, it's validating me that I'm not always alone because my animals are there to provide some sort of feedback.
Yeah.
Even if it's a blank stare, I'm like, you get it, don't you?
Do they ever weep back?
I wish.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of times accidentally.
Okay.
I don't think it was like an intentional, Mom.
Like that's a sign.
Yeah.
Take it. Yeah.
Also, Mom, you probably need to do a little more therapy or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. They haven't said any of those things, so I feel like I'm all right.
That's promising.
I'm doing pretty great as a human.
You're doing pretty great.
Yeah.
So you were here, you were doing some filming too. You were recording other people's stories, and do you typically do that for these types of events?
I have more served in the capacity of presenting and also emceeing.
Okay.
And, that's been the angle for me in my path. The interviewing was brand new. I've been interviewed, and so I really understood the energy of what helps to get things from people in the way that they can just kind of explore what they want to share in their brains, right? And man, there are incredible people here. The brain trust and the recovery and the behavioral health just industry here collectively is centuries, I think, of experience and passion, the passion behind it. I mean, you can tell everyone genuinely loves what they're doing and they feel the healing calling and they take it seriously. I love it. It's been cool. So no, I don't normally get to do that, and I'm really grateful that I did. Now, videography, I do have a production partner, and we have filmed many different types of things. Yeah, everywhere from music videos to commercials to events. So.
Nice. Yeah. It seems like everybody here has some sort of a passion for what they're doing. You know what I mean? It's very different than going to a cryptocurrency, type of event.
Although, I mean, they're passionate about wealth and exploring.
For different reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not usually for the well-being of other people.
Not necessarily. We don't know what they're doing with all that money.
That's true.
I mean, come on.
Some
of them, some of them have to be doing something good with it.
Yeah. There are good billionaires out there. Yeah.
There are, actually.
Yeah,
They're
there
legit
are a handful,
art.
I can probably count them on one hand.
There are all different types of people at all different levels.
That's true.
Education-wise, socioeconomic status-wise,
That's
culturally. Right. It's just, it's human-specific, not genre-specific.
Yeah. For sure. So sometimes we're collecting those stories and those interviews and talking to people that have been through those sort of situations, especially with lived experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm talking to conversation and I forget that I'm supposed to be prompting them to the next question because I'm enthralled in their story and what they're saying, or it's so emotional, you're trying not to cry with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did you get into that yesterday?
Yes, there were the being neutral moments took a lot of energy. I think that's why by the end of the day, more than anything, I think that's why I felt drained because I was really reminding myself to pull back from it and allow it to be and encourage more open responses based on a rabbit trail, or rabbit hole or whatever. Is it rabbit trail or rabbit hole? Rabbit hole?
You can go down
either
either one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Peter Cottontail Trail, Alice.
You can follow a
probably
rabbit
a hole. Yeah.
through a field or down a hole.
I felt a little more like Alice yesterday, so I did a hole.
Yeah.
And so just kind of guiding, but staying open and making sure, because there's the nuance of also being engaged, so they're encouraged to continue, but then not emulating what you think they're feeling, and that's the tricky part.
Right.
And you strike me as an empath as well, and it's just you want people to succeed, probably.
Yes,
I get
yeah.
that vibe from you.
Yeah.
And so just being able to, okay, I'm here with you and for you to share. And also, I don't want to give too much because I don't want you to feel the thing I'm feeling, because I think that's what you're supposed to be feeling when you're telling me the story.
And there's also that weird part of like, well, you're prompting people to sort of, relive some of the roughest times of their lives. You know what I mean? So that's pretty emotional. So I want them to feel comfortable and know that I'm not just mining them for content or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And I think, like my life story, we shared, just a little bit back and forth yesterday when we first met. It's really important that you are doing that, and that's such a kind thing, especially when you're humaning. And there are two parts, right? Because for me, I feel so much more open about, I've been able to process all the shame around all of the trauma and things like that. And so I have to be careful because I also don't want to traumatize others by sharing too much.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons, like, I've started working on a book and then I've stopped. And then I've started because I'm like, okay, if I put this in the world, does it cause people to relive the deepest wounds and they're not ready to do that yet and I'm hurting them? Or is it encouraging people who are ready to tackle it and it's giving them that inner strength of like, holy moly, if she was able to overcome that and she even is a semblance of a human being, I can do this, you know? And so, it's just, the human science side of the way we interface with the world is very interesting to me.
No, it definitely is. And it has an impact on people as you receive that information, you know what I mean?
Yes.
We had a guest, a couple weeks ago come on and talk about her, her childhood, but revealed that her father was a serial killer and that there are still bodies on that land that she grew up on that they still haven't discovered. Or it's just like, wow, did not expect that.
Intense. Holy moly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that... kudos to her, one, for even being able to share that. That is incredibly strong.
To be fair, she's written several books about it.
But
really? But then to come on and just talk up, it's
incredible.
Like, wow, yeah.
And just, holy moly.
Yeah.
Like, that, it shatters everything you know to be true about humanity on so many levels.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're cool taking people's lives and hiding it.
Yeah.
And I grew up with all these dead bodies around me. Like, I would have nightmares about that for decades.
Yeah.
Good for her for writing books, though, and actually being willing to have this conversation.
Into her 70s, and now, written so many books and teaching,
I wanna
law
meet
enforcement
her.
on how to identify a lot of these. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Holy moly. She sounds cool.
It's incredible. Yeah.
I just want to meet her. I want her name afterward.
Okay, I'll definitely give it to you.
Okay.
You're pretty incredible yourself.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
It's very funny. You have a strong personality that came through.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's good and bad sometimes, I guess.
Yeah. I think so coming at this sort of, you were talking about like the impact of those stories, you know what I mean, hearing from people. You come at it sort of the same angle kind of I was, where it's like, I don't have, any lived experience in doing, substance abuse or having addiction in that area, but you can definitely empathize with some of the parts of her story. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we relate there. There's a Venn diagram that crosses over, and like, here's a shared experience. And so, for me, it's like my childhood when I was growing up, and alcoholic father, and the abuse, and all of that stuff, and so there's a lot of crossover with that and relatability. And I think as humaning, as you said, when you're humaning, finding that relatable ground that you can both sort of build on and be like, okay, well, this is where we start. This is where we try to heal ourselves, and we can, sort of prop each other up and try to support each other in that growth, right?
Yeah. The stories yesterday were super cool.
Yeah.
And again, getting to hear from the spectrum of those who were recently through recovery and they're still following that path, and they are now doing incredible things in the world to encourage others through recovery and finding that strength. And then all the way to presenters who they've been practitioners in the space for, like I said, 20, 30 plus years, and they still have that passion for making sure that others have the opportunity to heal and to find their strongest selves. I just think that it was cool. And it did. I think by the time you and I spoke, I'd done 10 interviews already, and I definitely was really exhausted. And I think I had a stream of consciousness, so I'm not even sure exactly what I shared. It sounded
good on my end, but I do understand that completely. Where like sometimes I'm so mentally exhausted, and in that where I'm like, I wonder how this other person's even understanding what I'm saying, you know?
Well, it's funny too, and I realize that that's kind of just my MO throughout life.
Yeah.
And part of it is just social awkwardness too.
Yeah.
When I get uncomfortable socially, and I now have the tools to kind of calm myself or whatever, the verbal vomit is real for me.
Yeah.
And I have people that I've known for decades, and they will remember when we met because of which is fun, I guess, because at least I'm memorable.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I don't remember telling you that at all, you know. So
Where did you learn that about me?
yeah, if you've been Googling me,
Yeah.
be honest. Yeah. So it was interesting to have the conversation and to learn even your passion behind this. I think that's why I really liked what you were doing from the beginning when you explained it to me, because I've learned, and I mean, so life is all about interpretation, right? For me, in my path, what I've learned that makes sense for me, if I'm just being categorical, is there are two types of people who have experienced the addictions of others and the aftermath of the dysfunction. One, they take that path because they're set up for failure by that person, and they're maybe too young to do any different, or they don't know ever how to experience pain through it to become something on the other side. And so they just kind of become it, or they want to understand it. And I guess there are three. They want to understand it, and then they kind of do the antithesis of it. So they become the direct opposite, and it's like balance in the world, the yin yang of the world.
Yeah.
Or they understand it, and they're like, well, now that I understand it, that sounds more fun. I'm just going to do that. I want to be that person. I don't want to deal with trying to be nice or trying to heal or trying to be stronger.
Yeah.
I'm good with this, you know? Cool, you know?
Yeah. Not to be too cliche, but it's like, you know, you always hear of gyms. One of the selling points of gyms is, you know, you're going to have an active lifestyle, you know what I mean? And like, I was like, that sounds really corny, but like it applies to something like this or anything where you're trying to better yourself, where it's like, you have to be active in that, because if you're just lazy or you sit back and just hope it happens to you, it's not going to. You're either going to regress, you're definitely not going to move forward. You know, the best case scenario is you stay level and don't do anything, but like, you're never going to progress forward unless you actively come forward to that. So when you were hearing any of those stories, did it help? Like, I don't know, you seem like a person that's always had it together, you know?
Oh, yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. No, that's maybe the last 2 years of my life. I just turned 51 on April 1st. And I think maybe the age of 49 and a half to now, I'm like, all right, I think I'm kind of getting it. Now I can be like, yeah, I think I'm at least at a baseline human level. I'm just kidding. I don't know. Anyway, no, I have not always had it together. The dysfunction, the hypervigilance of constant concern of my life being at risk, and all of those things were very real for me from birth. I mean, I was born into a beautiful couple, so pretty. They're just like, my dad's 6'4", 245, just muscle, Marine Corps, special unit. You know, he was just the guy. He was always the athlete, always the ladies' man. And then my mom, who was a musician and loved art, and people loved her. And she just had this thing about her with people that she could naturally help people feel at ease. But both of them vexed in the highest levels with mental health concerns. You know, my dad ended up diagnosed with bipolar disorder, paranoid schizophrenia. My mom had manic depression, and then of course dealt with all of her addiction concerns. And so I just watched these two magnificently big human beings turn on their own. You know, I mean, I was their offspring, and so I was a representation of everything they knew they couldn't be in the world or maybe provide. And so it wasn't that they were, for a long time, kind of like the lady who shared how that was a big deal when you had the podcast that, she got to hear that, and she was like, I internalized that and I'm still processing it, right? And, you know, that's 3 decades solid of focusing on trying to find healing around all of that, to understand it wasn't that I wasn't deserving of the nurturing and the love and the needs being met or any of that. It was that I just represented what they couldn't be, and so for them, it was just tough. So when I look at the neglect, you know, I would go a day or two at a time alone inside the house, and I didn't know these. I could kind of remember them in a way, like once I hit about 18 months old, but I wasn't being fed. I wasn't having, you know, even my basic needs, just baseline human needs were not being met. And when I looked at that as I was being raised, and I was thinking about how fearful I was that at any given moment anything good could just go away, or I didn't deserve to have medical attention, or whatever it was. And I'll tell you a tag to that in a second. It was easier when I became a mom and I realized, oh, I have to go on my own track. So any of the perception of me having it together came from, okay, now I'm a mom and I know what it was like to never have any of those needs met, or to have a semblance of them. Like my stepdad who raised me, I really believe without him in my life that I would be one of the biggest statistics out there. It would just not, it would not be good. If I were even alive still, right? So I'm super grateful for that influence and all the influences that came around that. But then he also shut down because of my mom's dysfunction, and everybody covered what my mom did because the family at the time was fairly prominent in the area, like Southwest Oklahoma, and so nobody wanted to be open. I remember trying to report her to protect me and my sister, and then it would just get covered. And it's like, somebody please help us. Nobody's helping us. This is not okay. And my daughter's dad, we got married, and then that turned out to just be a perpetuation of the behaviors of my mom. So I was still living with my mom, but as a life partner, and so that was pretty rough. And we were young. I was 21, for crying out loud. But I still, even in the midst of that, I was like, I have to be whatever I can be in the strongest way possible, because now I am responsible for somebody who didn't ask to be put into anything in the world. Like, she did not ask to come into the world.
Right.
That was a decision between me and her father, and what can I do to change the trajectory of that? And then I just cut ties with my mom's side of the family and the dysfunction around that. I immersed myself in learning how to heal, and messed up a lot. And, I was in a very intensely abusive marriage at the time. And so I was doing all of that I could while still trying to survive that side. So the hypervigilance didn't stop for a long while. Yeah. And I think really the true turning point in terms of now, how do we dive into safety? How do we get a sense of safety in the world, or in my specific world and my family's life around me? Because I put my daughter through so much chaos just because I was still trying to heal. Yeah. I could talk for hours on the only saving grace that I feel like as a parent I was able to provide my daughter is the unconditional love side. No matter what she said, no matter what she did, I loved her and she knew it. Like, she did not ever have to fight for it or earn it. It was just there. And then the second best thing is just recognizing how broken I was, and being able to say, I'm still trying to figure out how to be a stronger version of myself for you. And I'm sorry, could have handled that better, and then being different afterward, right? Yeah. And so when I turned 40, there was like a little bit of a switch where I was like, wait a minute, I also am a huge part of this. Like, I still recognized I was using victim speech and allowing myself to be at the mercy of circumstances, even though I'd been working on this healing and becoming stronger versions of myself. I just because every rendition is the newest version, right? And I was like, okay, now what does it look like if not only am I just sustaining life as a stronger version, what is it if I'm anchored in a sense of safety and security and vitality, and I'm fully responsible for everything going on? And so that was a cool moment, because I was like, those moments of after you've been a victim for so long, when you realize, like, oh my God, I have all these manipulative techniques I'm using to get my needs met, just baseline awkward things that you're like, oh, that's me. That's not anybody else. I'm doing that.
Right.
And so just learning direct communication and God, I don't have regrets as a mom because I know I was just doing what I could. But
Yeah.
there are some times I get so much time with my grandbabies, and I think, wow, I wish my daughter had this version of me when I was raising her. But then I look at how powerful she is, and I think, at the same time, if she did, maybe then we wouldn't have this version of her, you know.
Right.
I know I don't want that to be like a pass off, like it's excusable.
Sure.
But I'm also really grateful that in spite of all of that, she is.
Right.
She's just she's a little force. I love her. Yeah.
Definitely contributes to who you are as a person when you're looking at your past and stuff. But yeah, I can totally relate how it's like stuff I've noticed about myself, you know, after so many years of being out of that house. It's like some of the stuff I haven't ever left, but like I've developed habits or thing like you said to get your needs met, right? So you develop these different things. So for me, I know that I'm a control freak because I didn't have control as a kid. You know what I mean? My father always had control, and he would, you know, if he wanted us to stand on the wall all night so that we would be tired when we go to school the next day, then he would do that. You know what I mean? And the screaming, yelling, anyways, crazy things. But like I understand now, and like I'm here as a one-man team. You know, I've set three
over
cameras.
Your control issues, clearly. Yeah.
Right. I've got some things to work through. So delegation is so hard for me. Like it's mentally so tough. But then also like relationships. I used to just fall into a relationship with anybody that showed interest in me. It doesn't matter if I found her attractive or not before. The moment I found out that she was attracted to me, like that was attractive. For whatever reason, I still haven't clearly understand that.
You felt validated you felt like your existence mattered to someone,
right.
And that to someone who
That's
a
true.
void inside.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah,
right. Like that makes sense.
For sure. And then like another thing is my mom. You know, she used to have to go to the battered women's shelter all the time, and so like we would have to go with her, me and my brother, until I was too old for them to even accept us. You know what I mean? So it was like all throughout 3 years, but. For her to, you know, every time calling him back after everything happens, and it's like, okay, you've stayed your amount of welcome here in the battered women's shelter. Yeah. You got to go somewhere. And then, of course, she would talk to him. Hey, I'm so sorry. I miss you guys. And, and like you go back, and it's just right back to the same old thing.
In it, and generally worse.
But me and my brother and I, both of us, you know, have tended to fall into relationships where we allow people to run over us, you know what I mean? And like to take control of us or make us feel like we're guilty or we're the bad person or we're doing something not right. And my mom was like, I think I made a mistake in that I tried to, you know, trying to push you away from what he was. Like I pushed you too much in the other direction to where you're too much of a pacifist in relationships now. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
So.
Right, because she felt like if she was guiding you in that way, you would never harm a woman.
Right.
Like you would never harm someone and wouldn't experience the same thing. That's really interesting. So when you look at that and you think, okay, now we know that this is the thing, when you address that, what are the skills that you try to put into place because I mean, we can talk tools and skills now, you know, but
for sure.
Because I know the things that I've used have been helpful, but I was a CASA when CASA actually intervened, and that's the reason I finally, the third and final attempt to leave, I did when I was married, and it stayed, and then I just never went back. It was like there's something about the reinforcement of a bigger organization saying, hey, this is real messed up, because all the people around me were trying to hide it, kind of like my past and growing up. It's like, this isn't happening. It's okay. You know, just having a bad day. You know, we all act out, right? And so it was so reaffirming that like people I respected immensely while I was advocating as a volunteer for them said, no more, by the way, if you do go back, like we will pursue action against you for failure to protect your child, keeping your child in that kind of environment. And I'm not saying that he was not harming her. And by the way, he 100% changed the trajectory of his life.
Okay.
He did. He is not the same human at all, and it's not like that. And we are amicable, and I actually respect him immensely. It was just it was I don't know what else to say other than we were just young, and there was a religious manipulation element involved as well, because it was high up in the church organization as well, so they couldn't be revealed what was really going on, because it would make the leadership look bad too.
Yeah.
And so there were layers and layers and layers.
Of course.
All that to say, CASA, when they did have me removed, the manager, that's 20 minutes to get to this one line, the manager, she was wonderful, my case manager, she said to me, whatever instinct you have toward an attraction towards somebody, until you've done a long path of healing, go the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And I remembered it, and I would remember it, and it was like just one step at a time. Just the next person was a little less intense than the other, and then the next, and then, and then I would have great experiences where the people were just openly wonderful and giving and caring, and I was like, oh, I can't match that for them, so I can't stay. That's not kind to them, right?
Right.
I'm not in that space yet. And so I'd have to say, you were incredible, and I wish that I was there, but I need to exit this because I don't want to, like you and your brother or that person, then I would have been the chaos on the other end of that dynamic. Yeah. And so that was me releasing someone with that type of heart to be like, hey, and they always, within a year, they would find somebody, and then like long-term relationships, and they deserved that. They didn't deserve me to destroy their soul because I was still trying to heal and figure out my chaos, right? And then there are people, I feel like, I did take a part of them because I couldn't see some of the things that I was doing out of my own fears and survival. And if you're constantly believing every moment is a threat, if everything is a life-threatening moment, you're never in your right mind. You don't have it together. There's no way. I was still accomplishing things. I was still very successful in many endeavors, but I wasn't together. And again, sweet baby girl. I mean, she turns 30 this year, but what resiliency in her that she was able to make it through all of that and have a loving partnership and be such a great mom to her babies. And they don't know what it's like. They just know joy, right? They know resilience and overcoming like some trials. But anyway, going back to you, sorry about that. I just did a whole thing.
No, it's good. This is
so
about you,
what
anyway.
are the techniques? Well, I don't want it to be all about me, because then I'll just do the nervous verbal vomit. I'm already sharing way too much. But for you, for you and your brother, like what skills or tools have you guys been taught to kind of, back to my case manager saying, run the other way,
Yeah. Well, for my brother, it's definitely been, let's just cut off everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
let's just not get into relationships. Let's not, I am my own person, and I'm doing my own thing, and I'm not going to fall in that again.
Yeah.
For me, it is, I don't know, I'm still learning, because like what things I think that are probably pretty obvious to the average person as red flags go completely under the rug for me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think my mind just does that because of, I guess, what I saw my mom do for my dad, where it's like so many times going back to him, you know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, I forgive you. I forgive you. Oh, I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive. When you hit me with that fishing pole last night, I forgive you. And like everything's just back. It's just that cycle of just insanity to where I think if I see something that's an obvious red flag where I'm like, oh, that's just part of their personality, or that's what people do. That's what normal people do. You know what I mean? So sweep it under the rug, until it's just too big and like you just cannot walk around it anymore. Then everything's blown up by that point. Yeah. Interpersonal dynamics, when you survive intent, especially with the, by the way, the I forgive you thing. Yeah. That's kind of one of the worst things we can do to youth. Youth don't have to forgive. It's like if somebody apologizes, thank you. Thank you for your apology. I think that's as far as it needs to go, because that's the wrong message. Not that we need to hold on to bitterness, but it's like, it's more about giving them permission to understand. Like, even if the abuse happened and then you're supposed to forgive them, okay, let's just you brought up a fishing rod, which broom for me, the mom and the broom, yeah. And so it's like, one time she tried a golf club, but my brother stopped her. Oh wow. Yeah,
that was a whole thing too. So when something happens to a child, like even at school, and it's like a kid hurts them, and they apologize, and it's like, oh, it's okay. It's not okay though. Like, the behavior is not okay. I can accept you as a person, and I know that you made that choice. It's not okay. And so I know even with, the babies right now, 5 and 2 for the grandbabies, and Leah, when she's telling me stories about kids at school, and it's just like, well, that wasn't okay behavior, was it? Right? They're probably having a rough time, but you did not deserve that behavior, and neither did anyone else. Just like it's not okay when you're having a bad time if you do that to somebody else, right? So it's kind of like just that constant ebb and flow on the interpersonal dynamic side. People are not all being raised the same. There's not an equitable and accessible way where everyone's given the exact same manual and we're all following it. Yeah. So some people are being taught to listen to what's really being said through actions instead of just the words coming out of people's faces. Yeah. And my guess is, based on what you already shared, when people are sharing words, you're like, oh, that's who they are. And I understand that because I do the same thing. Yeah. And then later I'm like, that's not who they are at all. What? That's crazy. Because the actions are like within 2 days not the same as their words. And I'm like, oh, that just must be them having a bad day. Anyway, so because of that, like the tools that I really believe all ages, from youth all the way to 120, however people are living these days. Yeah. I don't know how long. But it's just, the behavior is there. The behavior is incorrect. Yeah. And the person is still a human being, and whatever it was in their life that they were never guided toward, there is gentle guidance, but we also have the right to protect ourselves. And I think that's really the undoing of humanity, is the fact that we're not given permission to protect. It's like, oh, that's okay, or oh, I forgive you, or oh, they must just be having a bad day, or this is how normal people behave, but I don't know because I was in so much dysfunction. It's right. No, there is a code, I feel like, of humanity that like a badge that needs to be given to all of us for at least attempting to stop what's the easiest path. And the easiest path is destruction. Right. Hands down. The easiest path through the world is to fucking torch it. Blaze a fire trail and just be like, the aftermath is not my problem. Yep. That's easy. Right. But when we challenge ourselves and we think we only have a finite amount of time on this earth, we challenge ourselves to go, okay, I see my behavior, I can recognize it, I can understand that if I use tools like just even 3 breaths before opening my freaking mouth, or recognizing how tense my body is in certain areas and letting that go, or not labeling somebody as good or bad, just accepting that the behavior is what it is, and what do we do from here to navigate that in an appropriate way. It's so much better. Like, it's so much better for everyone. It's the labeling, it's the division. It's like anytime we classify or whatever it looks like, we're just allowing the path of destruction. It's just an open opportunity for the fire trail. Yeah. And it doesn't need to be that way. If we challenge ourselves and we choose to be more mindful and we're putting goodness into the world, not that it's flawless. I mean, I mess that up all the time too. I'm not like, oh, Miss Sunshine or anything, right? We all have bad days. I'm not like, of course. I'm not doing some of the things I used to do. Like, if I used to see people being harmed and they didn't have a choice, like I would go like physical mode on somebody to put myself between them or to like stop the action. Like I was like, they don't need that from you. But that wasn't the right way to handle it either. Sure. Because then I'm also just doubling down on the trauma that person's receiving, because they're like, I don't want to see anybody like actually get into an altercation over me, Yeah. But it's like, I just feel this righteous indignation when somebody who doesn't have a choice is being harmed, be it a child or somebody who's working behind the counter somewhere. Yep. It's like, stop, they're just trying to get through their day. Right. That was another long verbal vomit. Anyway, so the point being, I think kindness is a challenge. I think, and it gets easier, but it's always challenging because we inherently want to, like your brother deciding to shut himself down, and rightfully so. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. And at the time that he feels strong enough to tackle people again, not physically, just the humaning side, then, that's when he'll be ready. And right now, I just call that cocooning, just getting in there and just like, who am I? What do I want? What do I need? And then at some point, you just kind of emerge back out and you're like, I'll try this again.
Exactly.
Oh, you know what? Nope, I was wrong. Back in, and that's okay. I don't
Yeah.
think there's anything wrong with that either. That's beautiful.
Well, you mentioned earlier before we started recording that you've been doing improv.
Oh, yes.
And by the way, I love improv. Like I would never
Yeah.
do it myself because
Never
I
say
don't know
never.
if I have that. But
You do it all the time. You improvise
well, I
with
guess
people.
so.
Yeah. This is like
it's a skill. Yeah. But I love listening to like improv podcasts and of course
Nice.
Comedy Bang Bang. I don't know if you know who that is, but anyways, it's one of my favorites I listen to. But and Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
And okay, so
Yeah.
like some of the
Hilarious.
greats. Love watching them. Do you think, with your history and your past and going into, improv, do you think the skills that you've developed in improv have helped you read people better?
Well,
you can tell when they're acting or not
That's
acting?
an interesting thing. No, the hypervigilance for me, the things that I can pick up on people, it's eerie.
Yeah.
And I've been able to do that from a very young age, just from
Okay.
a survival perspective.
Yeah.
Right. Because you, and probably understand this, and maybe to some extent, because you did say you don't
Some
see the
extent,
red
right.
flags on behavior.
I can
So
tell
for
when you're
me-
flinching and you're about to punch me, but I can't see it when you're about to destroy me emotionally.
Right. And there's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
about the presence of people that I can immediately feel it. Like, is
Yeah.
that a threat or not a threat? So that I kind of understand how to navigate that person. And so improv did not fine tune that in any way. I think what improv did is actually release me from that a little bit and to allow people a little more room to exist in the space with me before I made those judgment calls. And it became less about, are they a threat or are they an ally or whatever? And it became more about, who are they?
Yeah.
And I, which I would have never thought until you just asked that question, because what a great question. But yeah, I really think it actually gave me more of an opportunity to just be in the moment and allow somebody to expand in the space instead of me having to categorize them to know whether or not I needed to run out the door real fast because they might, harm me.
Yeah.
It's funny too that I have that ability, but then I'll talk myself out of the ability to, like in dating or something like that.
Okay.
It's like, I know that this person has already shown me so many reasons not to trust them, like within
Yeah.
a 30-minute conversation.
Right,
and yet
right.
I'm like, oh, we all have those days.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's hilarious. So it's like I know, but then I select when I want to exercise on caring whether or not they're going to be harmful to me on some level. I believe that therapists call that self-sabotage.
Yes.
Improv is great though, and that's it. I really feel like it allows me the opportunity to just see what people are and who they are as I give them some space to be that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You told me yesterday that like one of the first notions that you had, about your mom was that because we were talking about Red Ribbon Week and those DARE programs and those types of things that you were.
I forgot I told you this.
Yes. See, that's one of those times where you share it and like
Yeah.
nobody stalked you. You told me this. Where they were teaching like some of the signs of like
Yes.
addiction and everything, and you were like, "Oh, the smell," and like it clicked into your mind. That's my mom. My mom was
Yeah.
doing drugs, and then you went and
Yeah, so the DARE program in Velma, America, because this was in Velma. I was in elementary school. I went
What
to
is Velma?
It is southwest of here.
in Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma,
Okay.
it is, because you're Arkansas. So
Yeah.
it is about an hour and 45 minutes
Yeah.
southwest of here. I lived on a ranch, like in the middle of Velma, Bray, and Duncan. So I went to all three schools, Duncan being the last 3 years,
wow.
and that was all high school. So Velma, America, third grade DARE program, the officer, I believe, and I want to say that the little McGruff doll also came along. I
Yeah.
really think
Graham McGruff.
I think he
Yeah.
did. I think he was part of it, or I just wanted that to be
Yeah.
part of it. But they were talking about the signs to know if somebody's abusing drugs. And we were so young. I don't know. And yeah, the smell. So I knew by smell. And something else. There was something about if they, can't remember if it was they laugh more or if they change the way they normally act or something. There was some other indicator.
Yeah.
And then I told the officer that my mom was doing drugs because it was pot and alcohol for
Yeah.
her for a long time. And I'm going to say also a little of the white dust.
Yeah.
Which I learned later. I didn't know what any of that was.
Right.
But
You weren't smelling that coming out from anything.
No, you're not going to smell that. No.
What did the officer say whenever you told him?
I wish I remembered.
That's got to be an awkward position for them to be like, I'm gonna go teach these kids what it's like whenever people are on drugs, and they're like, my mom is doing that, and he's like, oh God, no,
I wasn't prepared for this.
Right.
Where's the child therapist? I wish I remembered. I just kind of blacked out after I told him. I was just so excited to share it with somebody. Like, I was like, everything starts. It made more sense in my 8-year-old little brain. Like, oh, that's why, oh, this is bad. We've got to do something about my mom now. This is not good.
Yeah.
And then I just questioned my mother about everything from that point forward. I would just, in front of people, call her a liar. Be like, that's a lie.
Oh my gosh.
You're a liar.
You were calling her out ever since.
It got real bad. It got real bad. It got real bad. That's probably why she started drinking more, quite frankly. It was just me following her around being you're a lying parrot. I do remember I remember. So they pulled me aside.
Yeah.
They pulled me aside with the teacher or the principal at the time. And, oh my God. And I don't remember the conversation, but I remember they said that they had to talk to my parents. And I do remember getting in trouble at home. Not by my dad as much, but my dad just said, we don't say those things.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting point. I actually haven't remembered that part. And so I can't even believe that when you asked the question that even popped into my head. I was like, oh my God, I remember that's when I knew my mom.
Yeah.
But that's when I realized we hid it, I think. So I think it's like I almost, there was a duality in that moment of, I now need to know everything about this, and I need to just call my mom out when I know that something's wrong. But also, we don't tell people, which was already happening with the level of dysfunction on my mom's side of the family, especially. I mean, I was consistently abused, not just by her in those moments, but like by her mom in a very harsh way. And the uncle and then I mean, it was really, really ugly there for like the first 7 years of my life. And then once I had some separation from that with my stepdad marrying my mom, and then there was some safety and I learned to trust him, I felt brave enough at 8 to start addressing it when it was like, oh, this is a thing. And then I was taught, I think, from the moment I started bringing it forward, the rest of the time, that I was the cause of it. So it was an interesting, it did a lot. Just thanks, DARE officer, whoever you are. You ruined my life. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. And then it became very much, which I'm grateful for this now.
Yeah.
But it became very much my mom and I at odds with one another, and I never saw her the same. And then my little sister became groomed to be her. And so I'm grateful because it allowed me to pursue a different path of learning about myself and healing, and then also bringing that to others through program work that I get to do now, and breaking that cycle for my daughter to now have this, her sweet little family. And but so I guess thank you, DARE officer. I guess I'm wrong. Actually, it did work out.
It did work out, yeah.
Thank you. I am the isolated instance where DARE made a difference.
There you go. You're actually the first great positive story that I've heard come out of DARE. So far. Not to say that there aren't others, but I'm just saying when I bring that up to people, it's like it's never a thought. Whenever they go to their first time that they ever use drugs, they never thought about, the DARE officer coming in and talking about those things. It was just like, well, that was the day we didn't do schoolwork. We just sat there and listened to the officer.
For me, I'm like, my mom is an addict.
But it helps you sort of break out of that generational,
maybe that was the precipice. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, pivot moment. My mom did get me blasted when I was in 5th grade. That's the first time I remember getting blackout drunk.
Yeah.
So we were talking about how, neither of us have had to take the recovery path. And I'm grateful for that, because it could have been very easily
Same here.
The opposite for either of us, right? Yeah. And so, I remember this is how much my mom wanted to have partners in it, right?
Yeah.
That, and this is when I say that the neglect was real, the abuse was real, the disconnect. But it was because I was a representation of what she couldn't provide. Like, it's like she needed to silence it in a way, and by getting me to be part of it,
Mm-hmm.
it was just helping her cope with, well, we're all doing it, you know, and I'm not, it's wild. Like, I had so much anger toward her forever, and then it just turned to just heartbreak, because I think about the experiences I've had with my daughter and with the grandbabies, and the beauty around that, and the connection and the love, and I'm sad that my mom, like, she couldn't, that couldn't be part of her story, you know, like, and then just watching her, this vivacious giant creature, just slowly just shrivel and shrink, and it's wild. It's a wild thing. I think I forgot what I was trying to tell you there, but yeah, thank you, Dare Officer.
Yeah, for sure. Like
Fuck you and thank you.
Both, yes.
Oh yeah, I was telling you about her getting me drunk then for like the next few years. So by middle school, I was over it. I mean, that's how much I was drinking from 5th grade through 8th grade.
From 5th grade?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've never shared that, actually, with anyone.
Yeah.
Glad I did that on your podcast. But I don't even know if I don't even think I've shared that with my daughter, even as an adult, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so by the time I was in 8th grade, I don't know how many blackout vomit drunks I'd been. Mm-hmm. Parents wouldn't let their kids stay over at my house because she'd get them drunk too. It's wild. It's wild to grow up being in the midst of a well-off family and good, like, successful businesses, but that just kind of like stripped all the dignity out of life.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize how much privilege I had, until trying to raise a kid, because I was just trying to survive the chaos of her not being able to heal and her just slowly shriveling and dying inside, like her soul just being snuffed out by her mental health and her addiction issues. And the reason I was saying that is I did get back in it a little bit in high school, and then I just was over it again.
Yeah.
And then I think for like 6 months in college, and then I was over it. And then it was just being a mom.
Yeah.
Then I got divorced, and then I picked it up, but never to the level that, like, in 5th grade I was doing it, which is wild when you think about an adult could do that, but a 5th grader's like,
wild drinking days. You're like college? No.
I was 5th grade.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
High,
I was 11. Yeah.
Wow.
I was rolling hard. Yeah, I mean, and the other thing, and I wonder if you have experienced this too at some point in your life, and again, thank God I got to be a mom so early, 21, because it changed my life completely. But it probably saved my life, really. When I was a teenager, and I don't know if you experienced this, when you're just trying to, and I try to explain this to people who've never experienced, who had parents who just love them deeply, when you everything you know is the fact that you don't deserve to be alive, when you're being reinforced, and the name calling, the stupid was my mom's favorite word. When you said that earlier for the girl, I was like, oh man, I hate that she heard that, because sometimes it'll come up, and I just turned 51, and I'll still hear it. I'm working on my MED right now, and I submit my capstone, and I keep, every time I start typing it, I'm like, that word, it just pops into my brain really fast, and what my mom said to me, and I was like, wait, but I'm not, it's not, that wasn't, and it wasn't that she really even felt that way about me. If anything, she felt the opposite, and she was trying to pull me down because she felt very intimidated and very sad that wasn't something she could break out of on her own, Exactly. And I hate that for her. I really, as a woman especially, and a mom, hate that for her. Yeah, so what was I saying? I don't even remember. You probably don't even remember either. I just am going on 20 tangents. I hope you cut most of this out.
No, absolutely not. You're saying some great things, and it's thank you for being comfortable enough and candid enough to share that. Like you said, it could have easily been either one of us that fell into that, because
That's it.
when
Yes.
if it had been like cocaine or even worse, where if it was heroin or something, I don't even know where to get that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I know for sure where to get a drink. I can go downstairs and go to the bar. I can
Heck
go around
yeah.
the corner. When the drug that they're addicted to is legal and it's so easy to get, no matter where you are. Like we're in Oklahoma now, so like my I don't know if they sell alcohol on Sundays here.
Some
anymore.
places do now.
Okay.
Yeah, you're allowed to at some places
Yeah.
now, when the liquor laws changed a few years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back when I was a kid, like Oklahoma was the nearest place that sold alcohol on Sundays because Arkansas was completely shut down. So whenever it was Sunday, there was probably going to be a trip to Oklahoma just over the border, just so he could buy his case of beer and then come back.
Right on.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That
Yeah.
feels right.
Yeah.
I remember Mom, in retrospect, this wasn't the right choice, but I remember, I don't know why I'm laughing. I guess I'm laughing because I'm not laughing at her
Sure.
at all. I'm just laughing at like the experiences and having survived them. But I remember she would be willing in ice to get in the car, and we had so many wrecks. I can't even tell you how. Middle of the country, there were bar ditches, so when you went off the road, we were sideways in the car. It's freezing cold outside. Another wreck. I had 14 wrecks with her by the time I was like 16.
14.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Some of them were brutal, but never actual harm to our physical bodies, just pain.
Yeah.
Like no marks and things like that. But that said. I mean, in understanding, especially getting an opportunity now to work with people in recovery, or having been in partnerships now where people struggle from heavy, heavy addictions, I understand the pain of existing to the level that you need to numb out. And that's where she was. And in defense of that being her outlet, she endured horrific abuse and then had to do the I forgive you.
Yeah.
Without being given permission to be angry, or without being given permission to heal, and then was also consistently accused of being the problem from that point forward, and lived within 2 miles of her parents the whole time, in the middle of the country, after they'd traveled the world and like done all these things, and she's just stuck in the middle of the country. Stay-at-home mom, this kid who's been accusing her of being a liar since she was 8. And she just, it's so sad. It's like really sad. It's just really sad. But yes, my point there was, I kind of remembered it when you started talking again. When we have somebody constantly telling us that we're not valuable, that we don't deserve to live.
Yeah.
I remember as a teenager not thinking I was going to live past 18 and not caring. Like, there were moments as a teenager, the stupid stuff that I did and pulled, and I didn't care. I was like, why would I want to live past 18?
Same.
Isn't that wild? And nobody really talks about the intensity of that.
Yeah.
That means as youth, we haven't even lived our lives yet.
Right.
Can you imagine? You wouldn't get to meet all the people you meet right now if you'd fulfilled that prophecy for yourself.
Yeah.
Same. I wouldn't get to hold those sweet grandbabies or, have experienced my daughter growing up. But that's how serious it is, because there is no hope for the future.
Right.
It's being constantly on a daily basis stripped out of us. And man, finding hope again, I think the mom thing, I think that is the moment, a flip for me. I feel like you found a way to find hope. Like, you're learning and you're talking to people and you're allowing yourself to just find connection.
Yeah.
Connection leads to hope, right? It's just that some days it's good if I brush my teeth. To this day, some days I'm like, praise the Lord, I got out of bed, I brushed my teeth, I'm going back to bed.
All right, I'm killing it today. That's awesome.
Nailed it. And nobody wants to really talk about how awkward that is, because it is awkward. And there are extreme cases. There are cases where people go through addiction and alcoholism in parents.
Yeah.
And then the next tier of abuse, because some parents are addicts and alcoholics. It turns out they are not actually abusive. They're just unavailable, which is technically emotional neglect.
I've heard stories about that, and I've even talked to people on this podcast about that, where they were talking about their parents. They were like, my father was an alcoholic. We're like, oh, did he ever get abusive? No, he was just not really there. He was just, I'm like, really? Like, I can't comprehend that. Like, he was just checked out? What does that mean? if only I had been so lucky. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's lots of trauma that comes with it too. But I mean, like,
he didn't rip your hair in the middle of the night and pull you out of bed and yell at you for an hour.
Right.
What?
Yeah. So I don't know. It's pretty wild.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Crazy. But I mean, obviously you found your place and, you know, your purpose and belonging, and you're pouring into, I mean, your daughter and your grandchildren and yourself. I mean, like, you're working on yourself as well.
Thank you, yeah.
You sound, I mean, like, when you're sitting here talking to you, I'm like, wow, Kristy sounds like a life coach. You know what I mean? Like you're really good at talking about these things. And somebody's going to hear this and they're going to be impacted by what you said today.
God, if one, and I know this sounds hokey because people say it all the time, but if one person felt like they were at the end of their rope and there's no reason to move on tomorrow, it's wrong. You are so lovely. You're perfect exactly where you are. If you just pee today and go back to bed, you're okay. But tomorrow, try to brush your teeth.
Right.
And go back to bed. And then the next day, maybe eat something that you love to eat and go back to bed, you know.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
I've been laid out at times 2 weeks on a sofa, just not even moving. And it's brutal. Like, you know, once Sarah moved out, that then became a new transition of like, okay, now my daughter is out of the house.
Right.
So who am I in the silence?
Yeah.
Because then it's just quiet, and then that's a whole different level of existing and trying to find a reason to move on the next day and the next day.
For sure.
And I'm just grateful that it's been in there. That whatever has kept me going, you know. I mean, I have faith, so I'm grateful from that angle. But even if you're not a faith person and you just think about just connection in general, like, let connection move you forward. You're valuable. You deserve to feel love and to also give love. You know, some people don't even feel worthy enough to give love to others, and we all need your love. Don't hold it back. We need it, please.
But I mean, it's so true what you're saying. Yeah, it is hokey whenever people say, you know, if only I affect one person today. But really what you're saying is, because when you're in this realm and you see it, like, you're not affecting just one person. When you affect one person directly that you can see, like, I think recovery itself is like the one single industry where you can physically see the difference that you're making, and like if it's improving somebody's life or not.
Yeah.
But just like for you, if you had never survived after 18, who else did that affect?
Right. Yeah,
So you're one
valid.
person, but you affect a lot of different people, and that's for everybody. We all have people that were depending on us one way or another, or that we, you know, there's the ripple, you know, to go to another hokey, you know, symbolism.
The ripple effect.
When you throw the pebble into the lake, it ripples out, right?
Sorry, microphone.
It's fine. It's fine.
Is the microphone
it's handled
okay?
worse. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
It's okay.
Sorry, babe.
Pretty tough skin on it.
The ripple effect.
Yes, but affecting one person actually affects more. Yeah. So like whenever, you know, hopefully that's the goal of this. You know what I mean? We've garnered and been able to, you know, accumulate listeners over time and viewers, and of course, you know, there's all the social media things and TikTok and the YouTube shorts and all that stuff, you know, where it's like thousands of views, but it's like if somebody got something really great from this and it changes their life, like, that's awesome. And that's why it's worth it to come here, you know, and do some of these things on my own dime, is that, you know.
Yeah, and what a cool thing, by the way.
Yeah,
that
thank you.
do that.
Thank you so much.
On your own dime. And I'm not like doing the like, it's
What
just
is that?
like, that's cool. You know, the fluff. That's
Witchy
the
fingers?
blowing.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
just the witchy fingers. The woo. What is that? I don't know what that was, but it felt right. Blowing. That was air. Blowing air your way.
Okay.
That was
Very
like
visual. Thank you.
a fan.
Love it.
Yeah, I carry fans with me. Improvised fans, of course. But yeah, that's such a, and it's beautiful because you are giving people a platform as well to share, and sometimes just getting it out of our brains reminds us how much we've overcome. Like, I'm talking to you today and I feel kind of reignited. I think, you know, I've been working on this program, and all of it's very intensely, my last 3 years, the full focus on learning has been all around the self-regulation tools and the self-awareness. So mindful movement, but also check-ins and grounding exercises and breath. And then I've combined that with the interactive exercises around empathy, communication, things like that I was already doing. But first, this program, the foundation of it is they make you from the inside out be that. So it gave me me that next tier of healing, in order to then now I can be that true like expansion of what's inside.
Yeah.
So now I'm so much more gracious with myself. And I never could have imagined getting to that place, because I've always been hard on myself, because I thought that that's what I was supposed to be, because that's what everybody around me was. Right. I deserve to be harmed.
Yes.
I deserve to sabotage anything
Right.
good, because that's just what I've been taught. And that's so far from the truth. And that's another thing, if anybody, is taking in any of this, is just like, people don't mean what they're saying to you. They just don't. They don't. In addiction, they're denying reality, and that is cruel. But they are not really denying you as much as they're doing it for themselves to survive their choices, and they know how harmful they are. But in order to harm ourselves, we can't love anybody or give anybody anything that we can't do for ourselves and inside ourselves. We can do it to a certain level, but it'll collapse, right?
Yeah.
It's not sustainable.
Right.
And it's the same. So when somebody is choosing to harm themselves, they have to convince themselves that they aren't, because that's also inherently against survival. Like, in order to survive, we're inherently wired to protect ourselves. So if we're intentionally harming ourselves, like, we have to create different stories. And so it's not you. They're not. But please know that when they are denying your reality, it is cruel, and you don't have to allow that. Just know your instincts are right, and be kind to yourself. Understand that they are who they are, and you decide what you need out of that. And for people who are trying to recover, please don't be hard on yourself either. You found a coping tool that helped you survive the world for whatever origin point that was. And you also deserve kindness and love, and you deserve to feel good about yourself and feel good in your own skin, and just exist. You have the right to exist. So, yeah. Anyway, I blacked out again, I think. So
that was great. No,
sorry about that.
So much wisdom just came out of your mouth just now.
Rapid fire. Yeah.
Thank you for being willing to come and talk,
Thank you.
and for opening up. I mean, awesome. This isn't even what you do for a living. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
I train people, so
you do
I do
train
have
people.
to talk.
Yeah,
but,
that's right.
But I don't
That's
do
right.
podcasts for
Exactly
a living.
Right. Well, I mean, like most of the people that we interview or talk with, are in the recovery field in some way or form or fashion. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like their thing is they kind of have to open up so that other people can open up to
Yes.
them and start their recovery journey. And so for you, I see you as an somewhat different, and so it's awesome. And I'm glad I met you here.
Yeah, I'm so glad
for sure.
too. I'm glad we get to stay connected.
Yes.
I have family in Arkansas. I need a reason to get up there
Okay,
anyway.
good. Yeah,
So,
let me know when you're there.
I'll bring them in.
One thing I always ask guests at the end of the show, and I never prep them for it. Don't
Oh,
worry. I
boy.
saw your eyes widen.
Oh, God.
Is okay with all of your experience that you've had in your life and everything that you've seen here. Obviously, this is a behavioral health sort of conference where a lot of people here are bringing innovative ideas on how to approach the problem, because there's not one like blanket way that we can heal somebody from one particular issue, right?
Yeah.
So for you, what do you think is a long-term solution to helping people?
I get it, because the name of the conference.
It's on brand. It's on brand.
So good. How long did it take you to come up with that question?
Oh, 2 seconds,
What?
No.
You thought about it.
I thought about it.
You thought about it.
Yeah.
You had to
It
get
took a
long
while.
term.
It's been, I don't know, episode 8 or 9 when I
Okay.
finally figured
All
it
right.
out. Yeah,
You're
yeah.
like, oh, genius.
Yeah.
Good job. You're a genius.
I was like, obvious.
It's right there.
Yeah.
So long-term solution, not solution, more long-term practice. Long-term, what do you...
Whatever that means to you. What,
Okay.
Like,
in
obviously-
behavioral health and just being well
just
in
like
general.
in your experience. So let's say somebody that's coming out of a situation like yours was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you realize that, what state your mom was in and what she was raising you in and all that stuff. And obviously, you made it past 18.
Yeah. Woo. Thank you, Lord.
So you found motherhood. That was one of the things that really turned you around. But like
Yeah.
for somebody else who hasn't had that yet, what do you think is a long-term
Right.
solution for that woman?
Ooh, yes. But, for any human being, I think long-term solution is finding true connection. Like true connection. Whatever it is that you're afraid to address, do that. Like allow yourself the grace to accept any survival skill that you have put into place to make it through life where you are right now, accept that about yourself, and then find out what is this next version of me that allows me to connect more intensely and more intentionally with others. But okay, so one of the exercises, here's the deal. Silent scream. This is how I'm going to answer this. Silent scream. I have an exercise I do when I'm training people on empathy and conflict resolution and communication. Silent scream is an improv-based exercise that Viola Spolin created. And my version of it is people will pull an emotion, glad, mad, sad, afraid. They pull the emotion into their body. They have a partner. You can do this in the mirror too, but ideally you have a partner. And you look down for 30 seconds, you embody that emotion, and then you look up at your partner, and then you just start silently screaming words based on the emotion. So if it's excitement, it might be, I got to go to the... And then you're just saying things, and then you're emoting, right? So it's like this animated thing. And the other person doesn't know what you've picked, you don't know what they've picked, and you're both emoting at the same time and trying not to be impacted by one another. So the silent scream is this. After the exercise, we reflect on it, and then I ask people to just consider every time you're about to have an interaction, think about the silent scream in your brain and the silent scream in the other person's brain, and how do you both quiet yourselves to have a real moment together. So I think that would be it. Like, I think the long-term amazingness is how do we become aware enough on both sides and to give somebody space to do the same to then truly connect. Because connection is healing everyone. I mean, you watch people who are connected, who they have very strong family structures, they come at life from a holistic perspective. Sure, bumps happen and they get down or whatever, but they know that resiliency is intact because they can bounce back. They know that they have that safety, right? Connection's beautiful. And just laugh. I would say laugh.
And laugh.
And drink a lot of water and get some good sleep. But aside from that, I don't know what other long-term solutions. Oh, try something new. Your brain lights up in the middle part of it.
Yes.
Try something that you're terrified to do. You go do improv. And then keep that part of your brain alive and lit. Make sure that part of your brain stays activated daily because it grows you and it allows you to impact others in beautiful ways. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That was great. Yeah, I'm going to be thinking about those for a while now. Yeah, that's interesting. The practice especially where it's like rather than reacting to the other person's emotion, how do you reflect on it? And then... Yeah, and that's part of it is like one of the reflection questions to them as I train is like, okay, how did it feel to share your emotion and then see their emotion, right? Because I like having them do it at the same time. I used to have them do it one at a time, but there's something about them recognizing like, oh yeah, no, I started changing what I was doing, or we both got wilder because we're the same one and we got more excited, you know. Yeah. So it just is it's a show of how whatever's going on in here is absolutely changing the dynamics all the time. That's incredible. Yeah. Well, that's locked in my head forever now. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Kristy, thank you so much for being a guest. If people want to follow you, how can they do so?
I would say the best places would be LinkedIn. You can just find me, Kristy K. Boone, the spelling. It's in there. I do have a website.
You do?
It's called premiumimpactok.com. It's not an amazing website, but, you know, there's a way to email me and things like that through there. And, yeah, that's probably the best ways. Facebook, I'm on every 3 months probably. So I wouldn't say I'd see that anytime soon.
Okay, good. Yeah. It's for the best.
Yeah, and Instagram's really just random, so I don't think they'd get any value out of that.
Awesome. Well, it's been great having you. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening. If you're listening to this on any of the podcast platforms, you can absolutely find the video version on YouTube and vice versa. If you're on YouTube, you can find this on all of the podcast platforms from Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeart. There's like 22 of them. You can find us anywhere that you'd like to listen to podcasts. And so if you heard Kristy talk today, the biggest way that you can help us grow the show, but also to help grow the impact that these messages make is by sharing the episode with somebody. Because surely you heard Kristy talk today and be like, I know exactly who needs to hear it. Well, first of all, it was me, but I also know somebody else who would love to hear this message. Share this episode with them because that's the best way that you're going to help provide the resources that they need, and it helps just grow a big, strong community where we're all sort of supporting each other.
All the hearts.
All the hearts. Like that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Until next episode, we'll see you then.